Despite its name, Fang was an ordinary small town in a northern province of Chiang Mai, situated on the banks of a river. It made a convenient stopover for river traders and passengers throughout most of the year. A few barges, rafts, and sometimes even a large sailboat could usually be found moored at Fang. But all that was long ago, before the creation of the Trial of Champions. Now, once a year, the river is crowned with boats as people arrive from hundreds of miles around, hoping to witness the breaking of an ancient tradition and see a victor in the Trial of Champions. Deep in the hillside, behind the town, lies a challenge created by a powerful baron of Fang called Sukhumvit, a labyrinth filled with deadly tricks, traps, and loathsome monsters from which there is only one exit. Each year, warriors and heroes come to Fang to face the Trial of Champions. Survival is unlikely, yet many take the risk. The prize is great, a purse of 10,000 gold pieces and the freedom of Chiang Mai forever. This year, you will attempt what has become known as the walk, attracted to it for the simple fact that nobody has ever yet emerged victorious. In the morning, you see Baron Sukhumvit himself, with 5 others standing proudly in line, the violet scarves displayed for all to see. There are 2 bare-chested barbarians dressed in furs, a sleek elven woman with golden hair and feline green eyes, a man covered head to foot in iron-plated armor with a plumed helmet and a crested shield, and another cloaked in black robes with only his dark eyes showing between the swarms of his black-faced scars. A hush falls over the crowd as Baron Sukhumvit steps forward holding 6 bamboo sticks. You draw one from his outstretched hand and read the word 5th. The knight enters first. He salutes the crowd before disappearing into the tunnel. He is followed half an hour later by the elf, then a barbarian, and the dark assassin. Next, it's your turn. But before embarking on your adventure, we must first determine your own strengths and weaknesses. You have in your possession a sword, a shield, and a backpack for carrying provisions for the trip. You have been preparing for your quest by training yourself in swordplay and exercising vigorously. To see how effective your preparations have been, dice will be rolled to determine your skill, stamina, and luck scores. Or, if you wish to begin your adventure immediately, you can choose between 3 ready-made adventurers. First, we'll roll for your initial level of skill. This reflects your sword skill and fighting expertise, and will be determined by rolling 1 die and adding 6. Next, we'll roll for your initial stamina, which represents your strength. So the higher your stamina score, the longer you will survive. This will be determined by rolling 2 dice and adding 12. Next, we'll roll for your initial luck, which represents how lucky an adventurer you are. Luck and magic are facts of life in the fantasy world you're about to explore. This is determined by rolling 1 die and adding 6. You may also take a magical potion with you to aid you on your quest. Each bottle of potion contains 2 measures, so can be used twice during an adventure. You can choose from a potion of skill that restores your skill points to their initial amount, a potion of strength that restores your stamina points to their initial amount, or a potion of fortune that not only restores your luck points to their initial amount, but will also increase your initial luck score by 1 each time it's used. Lastly, before you begin your quest, you are given enough provisions for 10 meals. When you eat a meal, your stamina score will increase by 4 points. But don't forget, your stamina can never exceed the initial amounts you've just set. You have a long way to go, so use your provisions wisely. During your adventure, you'll enter into combat a number of times, and the further you go, the tougher your opponents will be. Combat takes place over several rounds, and your attack strength is based on yours and your enemy's skill scores. For each round of battle, we'll roll 2 dice for you and 2 for your opponent, adding the results to your skill scores. These are your respective attack strengths. Whoever's attack strength is the highest wins that round of combat. If you both had the same attack strength in a round, then it will be a tie. In some battles, you can take an opportunity to escape. But beware. If you do run away, your opponent will automatically score 1 hit on you as you flee, costing you 2 stamina points. So be sure you have enough. Such is the price of cowardice. You are playing using the new battle system, where the battle takes place over 3 rounds. Your sheer battle-hardened nature will mean you'll always win the battle after the 3 rounds, but every round you lose will cost you 2 stamina points. So be careful. Losing all your stamina will still be fatal. At the start of each round, you'll have a short time to decide to fight or to build up your stamina by eating your provisions or taking a potion, if you have one. You are playing using the traditional battle system from the original Deathtrap Dungeon book. At the start of each round, you'll have a short time to decide to fight or to build up your stamina by eating your provisions or taking a potion, if you have one. After each battle round, you'll be able to test your luck. By using luck in battles, you can either score a more serious wound on your opponent or minimize the effects of a wound scored on you. If you test your luck after you have just wounded your opponent, we'll roll 2 dice, and if the total is the same or less than your current luck score, you will have been lucky and will take an extra 2 points from your opponent's stamina. But if the roll is greater, then the damage to your opponent will be halved. If your opponent has just inflicted a 2 stamina wound on you, a lucky roll will halve that damage, but an unlucky roll will take an additional stamina point. One last thing. Testing your luck has a cost. Each time you test your luck score will be reduced by 1 point. Now it is your turn to salute the crowd. Holding your violet scarf aloft, you take one final deep breath of cool, fresh air before turning to pass between the stone-pillared gateway into Succumvit's corridors of power. to face unknown perils on the walk through the mighty barrens, Deathtrap Dungeon. The clamour of the excited spectators gradually fades behind you as you venture deep into the gloom of the cavern. Large crystals hang from the tunnel roof at 20-metre intervals, radiating just enough soft light for you to see your way. As your eyes gradually become accustomed to the near darkness, you begin to see movement all around. Spiders and beetles crawling up and down the chiselled walls disappear quickly into cracks and crevices as they sense your approach. Rats and mice scurry along the floor ahead of you. Droplets of water drip into small pools with an eerie plopping sound which echoes down the tunnel. The air is cold, moist, and dank. After walking slowly along the tunnel for about 5 minutes, you arrive at a stone table standing against the wall to your left. On it, there are 6 boxes, one of which has your name painted on its lid. The lid of the box lifts off easily, and inside you find 2 gold pieces and a note written on a small piece of parchment addressed to you. After placing the gold in your pocket, you read the message, which says, "Well done. At least you had the sense to stop and take advantage of the token aid given to you. Now I can advise you that you will need to find and use several items if you hope to pass triumphantly through my Deathtrap Dungeon. Signed, Succumbit." Memorizing the advice on the note, you tear it into tiny pieces and continue north along the tunnel, where you come to a junction. A white arrow painted on one wall points west. On the floor, you can see wet footprints made by those who entered before you. It's hard to be sure, but it looks as though 3 of them followed the direction of the arrow, while one decided to go east. Following the 3 sets of wet footprints along the west passage of the tunnel, you soon arrive at a junction. Ahead, you hear the thud of heavy footsteps approaching. Out of the gloom steps a large, primitive caveman, dressed in animal hide and carrying a stone club. On seeing you, he grunts and spits on the floor, then raises his club and lumbers on towards you, looking anything but friendly. Readying yourself for another attack, you fail to see the rock flying towards you. Your stamina is reduced as it lands hard in your stomach. Your enemy is strong but slow and screams in pain as your sword sinks into his leg. You dodge to the side as the caveman swings his club at you and kick out, knocking him to the floor. You run around the lumbering caveman, crashing your sword into his arm. Your enemy is strong but slow and screams in pain as your sword sinks into his leg.
Pleased with your victory, you notice that the dead caveman is wearing a leather wristband with 4 small rat skulls hanging from it. The wristband was made and cursed by a hag. It slows down your reactions and dulls your senses, reducing your skill by 4 points. You kick the tunnel wall in anger and stomp off north. After a few more steps, you see a backpack propped up against the tunnel wall. You wonder if it belongs to one of your rivals. There is a single gold piece lying in the bottom of the backpack. As you reach for it, you suddenly feel a light tickling movement on the back of your hand. You withdraw your hand slowly, trying to control your mountain panic, and are horrified to see a black widow spider. Before you can shake it off, it sinks its venomous fangs deep into your wrist, costing you a huge 6 stamina points. Only your incredible strength could allow you to withstand the powerful venom, but you are weakened, and also lose 1 skill point. Your hand trembles as you pocket the gold piece, cursing the person who dropped the backpack as you set off north again. You arrive at a junction in the tunnel. A new branch leads west, but the wet footprints you have been following continue north. You decide to keep following the footprints. You soon come to another junction in the tunnel. One branch leads east, but the wet footprints you have been following continue north, and you decide to follow their trail. The passage opens out into a wide cavern which is darker but much drier. Ahead, you see the footprints gradually fade, then disappear. There is a large idol in the center of the cavern that must be 6 meters high. In its head are jeweled eyes, each as big as your fist. On either side of the idol stand 2 giant stuffed, bird-like creatures. The idol is very smooth and will be difficult to climb. Some rope would have been ideal for this task, but alas, you don't have any. So slowly and carefully, you begin to climb the idol. You're about to grab hold of its large ear when suddenly your foot slips. We'll need to check how lucky you are. We'll roll 2 dice, and if the number rolled is equal to or less than your current luck score, you have been lucky. But if the number rolled is higher than your current luck score, you have been unlucky. You lose your balance and tumble headlong to the floor, losing 2 stamina points. Taking tentative steps, you slowly start to climb the idol again, but once again your foot slips on the smooth idol. You reach out again for its ear, and again we'll see how lucky you are. You lose your balance and tumble headlong to the floor, losing 2 stamina points. Taking tentative steps, you slowly start to climb the idol again, but once again your foot slips on the smooth idol. You reach out again for its ear, and again we'll see how lucky you are. You just manage to grab the idol's earlobe and regain your footing. You scramble over its face and sit down on the bridge of its nose. You draw your sword and consider which jeweled eye to prize out first. As you touch the emerald eye of the idol, you hear a creaking sound below you. Looking down, you are shocked to see the two stuffed birds taking flight. Their wings flap in jerky movements, but they are soon above you and look set to attack. You'll fight the flying guardians, one at a time, but your skill is reduced by 3 during this combat because of your restricted position.
The guardian snaps at you with its vicious beak. You parry, but the tip of the creature's beak sinks deep into your arm. The beating wing of the guardian smashes into the side of your head, leaving you seeing stars and sapping your stamina. Clawing at your leg with its talons, the guardian rips away a chunk of your stamina. The guardian snaps at you with its vicious beak. You parry, but the tip of the creature's beak sinks deep into your arm. The beating wing of the guardian smashes into the side of your head, leaving you seeing stars and sapping your stamina. Clawing at your leg with its talons, the guardian rips away a chunk of your stamina. The guardian snaps at you with its vicious beak. You parry, but the tip of the creature's beak sinks deep into your arm. The beating wing of the guardian smashes into the side of your head, leaving you seeing stars and sapping your stamina. Clawing at your leg with its talons, the guardian rips away a chunk of your stamina. The guardian snaps at you with its vicious beak. You parry, but the tip of the creature's beak sinks deep into your arm.
A well-placed swipe of the flying guardian's wing knocks you out, and you bounce down the idol and crash headfirst to the stone floor. Your adventure ends here. There is a large idol in the center of the cavern that must be 6 meters high. In its head are jeweled eyes, each as big as your fist. On either side of the idol stand 2 giant stuffed, bird-like creatures. The idol is very smooth and will be difficult to climb. Some rope would have been ideal for this task, but alas, you don't have any. So slowly and carefully, you begin to climb the idol. You're about to grab hold of its large ear when suddenly your foot slips. We'll need to check how lucky you are. We'll roll 2 dice, and if the number rolled is equal to or less than your current luck score, you have been lucky. But if the number rolled is higher than your current luck score, you have been unlucky. You just manage to grab the idol's earlobe and regain your footing. You scramble over its face and sit down on the bridge of its nose. You draw your sword and consider which jeweled eye to prize out first. As you touch the emerald eye of the idol, you hear a creaking sound below you. Looking down, you are shocked to see the two stuffed birds taking flight. Their wings flap in jerky movements, but they are soon above you and look set to attack. You'll fight the flying guardians, one at a time, but your skill is reduced by 3 during this combat because of your restricted position.
The guardian snaps at you with its vicious beak. You parry, but the tip of the creature's beak sinks deep into your arm. The beating wing of the guardian smashes into the side of your head, leaving you seeing stars and sapping your stamina. Clawing at your leg with its talons, the guardian rips away a chunk of your stamina. The guardian snaps at you with its vicious beak. You parry, but the tip of the creature's beak sinks deep into your arm. The beating wing of the guardian smashes into the side of your head, leaving you seeing stars and sapping your stamina. You're able to grab the wing of the guardian and send it crashing into the idol. It recovers, but you took some of its stamina. You try your luck, and your luck is in. Clawing at your leg with its talons, the guardian rips away a chunk of your stamina. The guardian snaps at you with its vicious beak, but you're able to smash the hilt of your sword into its outstretched neck. You try your luck, and your luck is in.
The crumpled form of the first flying guardian falls crashing to the floor. So you ready yourself to take on the second.
Guardian snaps at you with its vicious beak. You parry, but the tip of the creature's beak sinks deep into your arm. The beating wing of the guardian smashes into the side of your head, leaving you seeing stars and sapping your stamina. Clawing at your leg with its talons, the guardian rips away a chunk of your stamina. You quickly eat some provisions, increasing your stamina by 4 points. The guardian snaps at you with its vicious beak. You parry, but the tip of the creature's beak sinks deep into your arm. The beating wing of the guardian smashes into the side of your head, leaving you seeing stars and sapping your stamina. You quickly eat some provisions, increasing your stamina by 4 points. Clawing at your leg with its talons, the guardian rips away a chunk of your stamina. Guardian snaps at you with its vicious beak. You parry, but the tip of the creature's beak sinks deep into your arm. You quickly eat some provisions, increasing your stamina by 4 points. The beating wing of the Guardian smashes into the side of your head, leaving you seeing stars and sapping your stamina. Clawing at your leg with its talons, the Guardian rips away a chunk of your stamina. You quickly eat some provisions, increasing your stamina by 4 points. The Guardian snaps at you with its vicious beak. You parry, but the tip of the creature's beak sinks deep into your arm. The beating wing of the Guardian smashes into the side of your head, leaving you seeing stars and sapping your stamina. You quickly eat some provisions, increasing your stamina by 4 points. Clawing at your leg with its talons, the Guardian rips away a chunk of your stamina. The Guardian snaps at you with its vicious beak. You parry, but the tip of the creature's beak sinks deep into your arm. You quickly eat some provisions, increasing your stamina by 4 points. The beating wing of the Guardian smashes into the side of your head, leaving you seeing stars and sapping your stamina. Clawing at your leg with its talons, the Guardian rips away a chunk of your stamina. You quickly eat some provisions, increasing your stamina by 4 points. Coming at you with its razor-sharp talons, you're able to swipe your sword, partially removing one of the Guardian's toes. You try your luck, and your luck is in. The Guardian snaps at you with its vicious beak. You parry, but the tip of the creature's beak sinks deep into your arm. You're able to grab the wing of the Guardian and send it crashing into the idol. It recovers, but you took some of its stamina. You try your luck, and your luck is in.
Your final swipe dispatches the second flying Guardian. You look down and see the crumpled bodies of the flying Guardians lying motionless on the floor. You start to prize out the idol's emerald eye with the tip of your sword. At last it comes free, and you are surprised by its weight. Hoping that it may be of use later, you put it in your backpack. You lower yourself carefully down the idol, and wasting no more time in the cavern, run forward to the tunnel in the northern wall. Not much farther down the tunnel, you come to a closed door on your left. Putting your ear to the door, you listen intently but hear nothing. You enter a room which is small and completely empty. As soon as you are inside, the door slams shut behind you. Suddenly a voice booms out of nowhere, shouting, "Welcome to Deathtrap Dungeon!" the ingenious killer labyrinth of my master. Adventurer, I trust you will pay your respects to my master by shouting out his name. You take a deep breath and shout, "Succumvit as a worm!" Once again, the mysterious voice calls out, only this time, to your great surprise, in a far less threatening tone. Good. My master likes those who show spirit. Take this gift to help you. It will grant you one wish, but one wish only. Farewell. A gold ring magically appears out of nowhere and lands at your feet with a gentle tinkle. You pick it up and put it on one of your fingers. The door opens and you step back into the tunnel to continue north. The tunnel twists and turns, but keeps steadily north. Ahead, you see a thin shaft of blue light streaming down from the ceiling to the floor. It sparkles and shimmers, and you can see images of laughing faces in the light. As soon as your head goes under the blue light, you hear the sound of muffled voices. The faces are no longer laughing, but have changed their expressions to one of despair and anguish. A young girl's sad face hovers in front of you, and she begins to whisper a poem. Transfixed, you listen intently, believing that she has a special message for you as she recites, "When corridor doth water meet, do not make a quick retreat. Take a breath and jump deep in, if your trial you hope to win." Memorizing the spirit girl's poem, you step through the shaft of light and quickly head on north. You come to an arched doorway set in the right-hand wall of the tunnel. The heavy stone door is closed, but there is an iron latch and a round handle. Lifting the latch and pushing the heavy stone door open, you find yourself in a large cabin. The light is dim and murky, but as your eyes begin to adjust, you see that the walls are covered in green algae and running with moisture. The floor is strewn with straw. The atmosphere is warm, damp, and fetid, and a soft humming sound fills the air. You step gingerly through the straw towards a corner of the cabin where there appears to be a shallow pit. Peering warily into the pit, you are disgusted to see a mass of pale, writhing worms, some as much as 1/2 meter long. Nauseated, you are about to turn away when you notice that their undulating bodies are swarming around a dagger, its point held fast in a crack in the pit floor. The hilt is cased in black leather, studded with opals, and the blade is fashioned from a strange, reddish-black burnished metal you have never seen before. You long to touch the dagger, but this would mean plunging your hand in among the writhing worms. Taking a deep breath, you lean over the pit and plunge your forearm into the mass of wriggling worms. They are cold and clammy and feel extremely nasty, but at least they are harmless, and you are able to seize the dagger by the hilt. You give it a hard tug and it comes away from the crack in which the tip was embedded. Admiring its beauty, and wondering whether it might once have belonged to some luckless contestant, you put the opal-studded dagger firmly in your belt and leave the cabin. As you make your way back to the doorway, the buzzing sound increases in intensity, and you look around desperately to discover where it's coming from. Glancing up in the nick of time, you see a huge and grotesque black shape of a giant fly emerging from a recess high up in the cavern wall. As it gets closer, you realize that it's at least 1.5 meters long. Its opaque wings vibrate, making the sickening buzzing noise you can hear, and its 6 black, hairy legs are poised to grasp your body. Below, its multifaceted eyes is a long, shiny black proboscis, which darts in and out venomously. You have stolen the giant fly's treasure from her brood of maggots, and you must face the consequences. It's time to test your luck again. Remember, a roll equal to or less than your luck score means you've been lucky, but a roll higher than your luck could end badly. The giant fly dives down and seizes you with 4 of its legs. It climbs quickly back to the roof of the cabin, and you find yourself dangling helplessly in its grasp. Then, to your horror, it suddenly releases its grip, and you fall 10 meters to the floor, landing heavily. We'll roll 1 die here and deduct the number from your stamina score. Alas, you have run out of stamina. You collapse on the spot and rattle out your last breath. Your adventure ends. You come to an arched doorway set in the right-hand wall of the tunnel. The heavy stone door is closed, but there is an iron latch and a round handle. The tunnel ends shortly at a junction. Looking left and right, you see a narrow passage disappearing into the dim distance. You walk down the passage and soon find yourself standing at the edge of a deep, dark pit. The passage continues east on the other side of the pit. You think you could probably jump over the pit, but you are not sure. There is a rope hanging down from the ceiling over the center of the pit. Taking a step forward, you leap towards the edge of the pit. How lucky are you feeling? Rolling equal to or less than your luck score means you've been lucky, but a higher roll could cost you. Your armor and sword weigh you down, but you just manage to land safely on the far edge of the pit. You waste no time and head east. The tunnel makes a sudden left turn and continues north as far as you can see. You soon arrive at a closed wooden door in the left-hand wall. The door opens into a large candlelit room filled with incredibly lifelike statues of knights and warriors. A white-haired old man dressed in tattered rags, jumps out from behind one of the statues and starts to giggle. Though he looks like a fool, the sparkle in his eyes makes you think there is more to him. In a high-pitched voice, he says, "Oh, good! Another stone for my garden. I'm glad you have come to join your friends. Now, I'm a fair man, so I'll ask you a question. If you answer correctly, I'll let you go free. But if your answer is wrong, I'll turn you to stone." He starts to chuckle again, obviously pleased with your arrival. The old man points at one of the statues, and you recognize it immediately. It is the knight who started the trial of champions. The agonized look on his face locked in stone for eternity. The old man smiles, saying,
"This man weighs 100 pounds plus half his weight. How much does he weigh?"
"What will you answer?" Still smiling, the old man looks at you and says,
"Well done, stranger. You have answered correctly. I wish you good fortune during the rest of the trial of champions. And to this end, I shall increase your powers."
He then mutters a few more unintelligible words, and you feel a powerful surge soar through your body, increasing your skill, stamina, and luck by 1. You bid the old man farewell and leave his room to continue north along the passage. Only a few meters further down the passage, you see another closed door in the left-hand wall. The letter X is scratched into its center panel. Putting your ear to the door, you listen intently, but can hear nothing. The door opens into a large room. Looking around, you see an alcove in the west wall. In the middle of the room, sitting in the chair, is the skeleton of an armed warrior, possibly a contestant from years gone by. The skeletal fingers of its right hand grip a crumpled parchment. Touching the parchment has precisely the effect you had feared. The skeleton lurches forward, and rising from its chair in a series of jerky movements, raises its sword to strike you. Lunging sideways, you draw your sword to defend yourself. The skeleton is strong, but slow. You swing your sword, which smashes into its leg.
You try your luck, but no good this time.
You jump back as the skeleton swings its sword, but not quickly enough, and it tears into your shoulder, sapping your stamina. You raise your sword to parry the skeleton's attack, but it knocks your sword aside and lands a painful blow. You fall back as the warrior advances towards you. You manage to roll away before he brings his sword down on you. You dodge to the side as the warrior swings its sword. You kick out, knocking its legs out from under it.
You try your luck, and your luck is in.
You run around the jerking skeleton, smashing your sword into its arm.
Once again you reach for the parchment, only this time lying amidst a pile of broken bones. Unfolding it, you see a map of a room with a drawing of a hideous creature inside it. Beneath the monster is a rhyme, which reads, "Should you meet the manticore, of its tail beware. Shield yourself against the spikes, flying through the air." You fold up the piece of parchment and put it in your backpack, repeating the rhyme over and over to yourself. You walk across to the alcove. At the back of the alcove are some steps leading down into a cellar. Cobwebs brush your face as you descend. The cellar ceiling is quite low, and the floor is strewn with debris. In the middle of the wall opposite you is an archway, which leads into another crystal-lit tunnel. There are large mushrooms growing on the debris to your right. The tunnel continues west for several hundred meters, finally ending at some steps leading up to a closed trapdoor. You climb the steps slowly, hearing muffled voices above you. In the dim light, you can see that the trapdoor is not locked. You throw the trapdoor open and run up the steps into a bright, lantern-lit room. Two goblins are sharpening their short swords on a stone set in the middle of the floor. You catch them momentarily off guard, but they quickly recover and both rush forward to attack you. A point of note here, adventurer. Because of the shape of the room, both goblins will have a separate attack on you in each attack round. However, here your attack will only be effective on one of the goblins. Against the other, you must still use your attack strength in a normal way. But even if your attack would have been effective, you will not wound it. It will just count this as though you have defended yourself. However, if its attack strength is greater, it will have wounded you in the normal way.
You quickly eat some provisions, increasing your stamina by 4 points.
You hurl yourself at your enemy, fists flailing, and land a stunning blow.
You try your luck, and your luck is in.
You manage to get around the back of your enemy, but it quickly kicks backward, catching you agonizingly in the stomach. You both swing for each other, and in the confusion, both miss. Readying yourself for another attack, you fail to see the rock flying towards you. Your stamina is reduced as it lands hard in your stomach. You thrust your sword, and you clearly damage the creature. You try to run around the side of the creature, but it grabs your arm, throwing you hard into the wall.
The sheer strength of the goblins proves too much for you. A final blow saps the last of your precious stamina, and you fall dead to the floor. This is where the walk ends for you. The tunnel continues west for several hundred meters, finally ending at some steps leading up to a closed trapdoor. You climb the steps slowly,
hearing muffled voices above you. In the dim light, you can see that the trapdoor is not locked. You throw the trapdoor open and run up the steps into a bright, lantern-lit room. 2 goblins are sharpening their short swords on a stone set in the middle of the floor. You catch them momentarily off guard, but they quickly recover and both rush forward to attack you. A point of note here, adventurer. Because of the shape of the room, both goblins will have a separate attack on you in each attack round. However, here your attack will only be effective on one of the goblins. Against the other, you must still use your attack strength in a normal way. But even if your attack would have been effective, you will not wound it. It will just count this as though you have defended yourself. However, if its attack strength is greater, it will have wounded you in the normal way.
You thrust your sword, and you clearly damage the creature. You try your luck, and your luck is in. You manage to get around the back of your enemy, but it quickly kicks backward, catching you agonizingly in the stomach. Readying yourself for another attack, you fail to see the rock flying towards you. Your stamina is reduced as it lands hard in your stomach. Your enemy is strong but slow and screams in pain as your sword sinks into his leg. You try your luck, and your luck is in. You hurl yourself at your enemy, fists flailing, and land a stunning blow.
Triumphant in one of your toughest battles to date, you see that the only furniture in the goblin's room is a table, 2 chairs, and a cupboard on the wall. There are 2 closed doors, one in the west wall and the other in the north wall. The cupboard contains a wooden mallet and 10 iron spikes, which you put in your backpack while wondering which door to open. The door opens into another tunnel, which rises gently into the distance. After walking uphill for a while, the tunnel levels out, and you soon arrive at a door in the right-hand wall, to which a withered hand is nailed. You enter a room in which a man in tattered clothing is standing chained to the wall by his left arm, and you see that his right hand is missing, and realize that this must be the one nailed to the door. Pleading for mercy, he cowers back from you as far as his chains will allow. You step up to the frightened man and cleave the chain with your sword. He drops to his knees and bows, thanking you over and over again. He tells you that 4 years ago, he entered the trial of champions but failed. He fell down a pit and had to be rescued by a trial master, one of Baron Succumvid's dungeon administrators. He was offered a choice between death or servitude in Deathtrap Dungeon as the trial master's minion. Choosing the latter, he worked like a slave until he could stand it no longer and tried to escape. Alas, he was unsuccessful and was captured by the trial master's wandering orc guards. To teach him a lesson, they cut off his hand and condemned him to a year's imprisonment in this cell. You ask him whether he has any information that might be of use to you. He scratches his head. Well, I haven't exactly done very well in here myself, but I do know that you need to collect gems and precious stones if you hope to get out. I don't know why, but there it is. Without another word, the ragged prisoner dashes out of the room, turning left into the tunnel. You decide to keep heading north and turn right. There is an open pipe in the right-hand wall, about 1 meter in diameter. It is too dark to see far down it. You shout into it and hear your voice echoing down the iron pipe until eventually the sound fades away. The pipe is wet and slimy, but you crawl on into the dank darkness, slithering and sliding as you go. Suddenly your hand touches something hard and square, which feels as if it is made of wood. It rattles as you shake it, and you decide you must be holding a box. Removing the box lid by the light of the tunnel, you find an iron key and a large gem. It is a sapphire. Placing the items carefully in your backpack, you gain 1 luck point and set off north once again. There is a new branch in the tunnel on your left, and ahead you see 2 bodies lying on the floor. You stop and peer down the new tunnel, but seeing no doors or creatures, you decide against walking down it. With your sword drawn, you walk over to the bodies of the 2 orc guards. At least one of your rivals in the trial of champions must still be ahead of you. A quick search of the bodies produces nothing, apart from a necklace of teeth around the neck of one of the orcs. The necklace is an amulet of strength, which adds 1 skill point and 1 stamina point. Pleased with your find, you continue your quest north. The tunnel soon ends at a junction. Standing there alone and wondering which way to go is one of your rivals. It is one of the barbarians. You call out to him, but at first he does not answer. He merely stares at you coldly, his hands firmly gripping his axe. You walk up to him and ask which way he is heading. He grunts his reply, saying that he is going west, and you may go with him if you wish. Although you are slightly uneasy in each other's company, knowing that there can only be one winner in the trial of champions, you are both content to share in the benefits of a temporary alliance, and you begin to tell each other of your exploits so far, of the monsters and traps encountered and the dangers overcome. Walking along, you soon come to the edge of a wide pit. It is too deep and dark to see to the bottom. The barbarian suggests he lowers you to the bottom with his rope, saying he has a torch which he can light for you to use. You tie the rope around your waist and take hold of the lighted torch given to you by Throm, as your barbarian ally calls himself. Taking hold of the slack rope, Throm lowers you slowly over the edge of the pit and down into the dark depths below. You can see by the light of the torch that the sides of the pit are extremely smooth. You drop about 20 meters before hitting the bottom of the pit. There, you see another tunnel heading north, and you call up to Throm and tell him of your discovery. He calls back, saying that he is going to tie the rope around a protruding rock on the edge of the pit and will come down and join you. You hear him climbing down, and soon you are together again. Throm retrieves his rope by shaking it off the rock, and you set off north along the new tunnel. On a stone ledge in the tunnel wall, you see two dusty leather-bound books. Throm grunts his contempt for the written word, urging you to leave the books and hurry on. As you open the book, it immediately begins to disintegrate, the pages turning to dust in your hands. You manage to keep a few fragments and read the handwritten script. The book appears to be about monsters, and from what you can make out, it contains a full description of a monster called the Blood Beast. It is a horrific, bloated creature with tough, spiny skin and facial blisters which burst open to become mock eyes, evolved to hide the Blood Beast's only weak spot, the real eyes. Blood beasts usually dwell in pools of fetid slime which give off a poisonous gas so strong that it alone can easily knock people unconscious. The blood beast, although too bulbous to haul itself out of its slime pool, has a long and vicious tongue which it wraps around its victims before it drags them into its pool. As the helpless and still living victim's flesh decomposes in the vile slime, the blood beast will feed on it. You tell Throm about the grotesque blood beast. He merely shrugs his shoulders and tells you to get going. The book pages are sealed together, but a small hole has been cut out in the middle of them, just large enough to hold a small corked bottle containing a clear liquid. You show it to Throm, who holds up his hand, indicating that he does not want you to come anywhere near him with it. His distrust of things unknown is strongly evident. The liquid is a magical potion that will enable you to detect hidden traps and adds 2 luck points. Setting off, you continue your journey north with Throm. The tunnel turns sharply to the right, continuing east for as far as you can see. Throm stops and tells you to halt as well. He turns his head slowly from side to side, listening. I hear footsteps coming down the tunnel towards us, he whispers. Draw your sword. You both crouch down to hide in the shadows, and not a minute too soon. For a moment later, you see the silhouette of 2 armed guards. Throm jumps up and dashes forward, screaming a loud battle cry. They are 2 cave trolls. Throm attacks the first one with his battle axe, and you run to his aid to attack the second. You drop to the ground, sweeping away the troll's legs. It howls as its head hits the hard ground.
You try your luck, but no good this time.
You drop to the ground, grab the creature, and ram its head hard into the wall.
You try your luck, and your luck is in.
You parry the attack, but your enemy is too strong, and you crack your head on the floor as you hit the ground. You fought to the best of your skill and stamina, but neither was enough. The cave troll's final blow takes the last of your strength, ending your quest here.